today. You were just apologizing. What were you apologizing for?
It's okay that I'm not in the studio at the moment with you, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's fine. Welcome to the office. It's Lagos Talks 91.3. And on the office, we already know what we do here. And for anyone who's just joining in, remember that the office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. Today, we'll be talking about the topic strategic change management, and my guest today is a highly sought after human resource professional who is highly skilled in enabling organizations through business strategies and organizational performance, organizational restructuring and development, as well as learning and talent management, which has been sufficiently demonstrated with over 16 years of his experience. His key focus areas are business performance consulting, organization development, facilitation and training, learning and development, career management, and succession planning. He has deployed key business strategy models for various industries and has, to his credit, a number of HR solutions which has been developed, including high-value training models, talent management, frameworks, performance management, and retention strategies. Now, he's certified by Deloitte, SHRM, SHL, CIPM, SDI, and has consulted in Nigeria and internationally in South Africa, London, Japan, Kenya, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, and Benin Republic. He has been involved in organizational transformation projects at PZ Cussons, MTN Nigeria, a co-electric distribution company. He has also led the HR transformation in Notary and Soctory, Valor Logistics, and currently holds the position as HR and legal practitioner at Promasidor Nigeria Limited. What an interesting profile. My guest today is, well, Mr. Stanley Eluwa, MCIPM. Welcome to the office today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
We feel very excited and privileged to be speaking with you. 16 years of experience. I need to see.
Actually 18. Sorry, 18.
I need to sound right because I'm speaking to a pro, and my listeners are going to be tapping into your knowledge, and I'll be here asking loads of questions and trying to mirror their hearts with the kind of questions they would love you to answer. So I'm sure you're very ready for us today, aren't you?
Yes, we're ready.
All right. Now we're talking about strategic change management, and would like to first of all understand what change management is. We already understand what change is, depending also on where we use it or how we use it, but what exactly is change management? What does that mean?
All right, thank you, and thanks so much for this opportunity again, and thanks to CIPM for bringing this very important topic our way. Because we don't have too much of time, I'll just go straight at the question.
Okay.
Change management. I'll start by saying that we all know that the only thing that's constant is change, and change, the wave of change, is sweeping through nations, countries, and then businesses. And for us as organizations, if we are not change ready, then it's going to impact how long we can exist. So change management is simply an approach or methodology that we put in place as an organization or as HR leaders and practitioners to enable our organizations go through the phase of change and come out stronger. So this makes it even very important and critical for us as HR leaders to ensure that change management becomes a critical skill, competence that we must have if we are going to help enable organizations to success, and if we're going to partner with our businesses to go through the waves of change and come through very strong.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up for us. Now, what is the strategic change management? Since we understand what change management is about, what kind of strategies are involved in change management, and what should we learn from that entire sentence?
Okay, so I'll twist it a bit now. So strategic change management then begins to speak to change initiatives that impact the way we operate. So once change initiatives begin to would need to impact the operating model of the organization. So take, for instance, if the business itself decides to, the very popular one that we're very used to.
Are you there? Well, I think we have a little bit of technical glitch from his end. We'll try and get him back to explain what he's just trying to share with us. We'll have to take a breather and return. Stay with us.
Muted. You're muted. You're muted. Okay. I can hear you now. Yes.
To get started, we deliver value through people.
Welcome back to the office on Lagos Talks 91.3. We do apologize for that break and transmission on your end. Welcome back. Now, you were just discussing strategic change management and simplifying it for us. Please go ahead.
Yes, so the point I have made, and I'll just try and recap, is that when the change management initiatives, a process, has an impact on the way we operate as an organization, or has an impact in our positioning within the market space, or has an impact in product services, maybe customers, enables us gain competitive advantage within the market space, then it becomes a strategic change management process, which will require a top-level approach in terms of how we implement. And like I said, typically it's either most of the time, these are either pulled from threats within the market space or huge opportunities that, that likely would have come sometimes from blue oceans that the business wants to tap into at that point in time.
All right. Thank you. Now, why is strategic management necessary? Why is it needed in organizations? For business owners that are listening to this show right now, why exactly is strategic change management important in their organization?
All right, so we cannot overemphasize the fact that change is important. And for us to be able to go through or facilitate change as HR leaders, we must position our organizations to become nimble, agile, and most importantly, ready to go through the change process. So strategic change management is necessary because change is constant, like we've said before, and strategic change management is a core enabler to success for organizations in today's world. So let's go back to what happened during COVID, where most organizations and most people weren't ready for the change that happened at that point in time. For most organizations, it was forced on us. For a few, we had frameworks in place that we could adopt. So for organizations that haven't adopted the approach of strategic change management, this becomes it becomes necessary that they begin to adjust their positions to driving change from a strategic point of view. It's a VUCA world. Change is uncertain. It can happen. We don't know what we wake up into tomorrow. But at the local level or at the global level, we can't tell what will happen. So we must be change ready if we are going to survive today and the future. What got us here will not take us there. And that's why this is very important. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're getting the hang of everything you're saying. Now, are there specific processes that are involved in strategic change management? If yes, what are they? Can you please talk about that in about 2 minutes? We have to go on a quick ad break.
All right, so I'll try and do in 2 minutes. So I'll just say, firstly, in terms of process for executing strategic change management, it's first understanding, we must be clear about what we want to achieve. So what's the end game? What is it that what's a picture of success? So we must be clear, define change and be clear about what we want to do. And then when we're clear, the next stage is then to plan for change. What are the resources required to drive this change? What are is there technology involvement? What are the tools required? Is the budgeting that we need to do? What's the plan, to ensure that we execute this change effectively? Do we need to conduct certain levels of assessment? Because one of the biggest things with change is the readiness level at the organization and at the people side. How ready are we for the change? I hear business leaders sometimes will come and say, company A has done X, we need to do that. But we fail to realize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to adopting change. So once we have our plans clear and we've done our assessment very clearly, the next step will then be implementing the change and ensuring that we are also tracking and monitoring. Sometimes in terms of how we implement, we may need to break change into smaller. In fact, if you've seen the John Cotter's model for the 8-step John Cotter's model for implementing change, you would understand the point I'm trying to make, ensuring that you have a clear vision for your change, and you also have been able to break them into short wins well enough to be able to implement them. So milestones, low-hanging fruits, and all of those. And then you sustain those change with the right policies, processes, and procedures.
All right. Thank you. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be back. The ad is about 3 minutes long, so.
Okay. So they don't hear what I say now?
No, you're up there now.
Thank you. Thank you. That's fine. So I just catch my breath while you do that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Them say, hey, we don't want things. No, people carry. The same old parties, them plus the old people, we don't feel us tired. It was. I say it was. Put get correct guys them with their brain sharp. Yeah, but if they can't quit plus, they don't get time for corruption. This Peter Obi and Yusuf Baba Ahmed. Now the guys who left on Nigeria to African Dubai. My brother, my sister, you don't set. We take back Nigeria. No matter what you do, obedient and useful. What the Labour Party? What for Papa Mama Pikin?
Oh, hey girl, what's wrong? Going through Instagram today has made me depressed. Everyone seems to have a boo.
Ha, God, when no.
You're not taking me seriously.
Lagos Talks in collaboration with Ginger presents Find Your Match.
A Valentine's Day matchmaking event where 30 strangers meet for the very first time to see if they can find love in a breathtaking location with an exquisite menu created by world-class chefs.
If you are single and wish to find the right partner, all you have to do is visit at Lagos Talks 913 or at Ginger_Lagos on Instagram. Click the link in the bio and fill the form. Participants with the most compatible qualities will be chosen.
This is totally free, so hurry and fill the form as entries close on the 5th of February.
Caro.
Musa, my friend, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Have you heard the good news?
Oh, wow. What good news?
Yes, the electioneering year is upon us. It's time to elect a new president for Nigeria.
Rubbish news. Is it not the same people since the days of my fathers that are still trying to rule us? Come on, the same failed parties. Dala, Caro, let's talk about something more reasonable. Please. Not the same people.
From students of insecurity to for our children who use on age parents. Let's go back to both for intellectually positive, physical needs, and intellectual support, and using Baba Ahmed and the 2020 presidential election. We become pictures of conflict. It's a mother and child. The news is ever flowing.
Hello, welcome to the news at noon on Lagos Talks 91.3.
The conversation never stops.
They're not going to differentiate it further from a grandfather based on age on Lagos Talks.
We're coming back.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to the office on Lagos Talks 91.3. This is the office, and my guest today is an HR and legal director at Promasido Nigeria Limited, Mr. Stanley Eluwa, MCIPM. Now, before the break, we just touched on specific processes involved in strategic management and what they actually are. And one of the things you said, I think is a major sticking point, is understanding the end goal. Having a picture in mind, knowing what you want to achieve first. I think that creates a roadmap to doing whatever it takes and taking the necessary steps to get there and to achieve that goal. So thank you for clearing that up for us. Now, looking at the talent war going on globally, where does strategic change management come to play?
All right, so the war for talent has come to stay. Unfortunately, the Jackbar syndrome hasn't helped, so it's worsened the situation. So one of the critical things that would help where the change management models that we deploy should pay attention or focus on would be in terms of our approach. So we must change our approach in terms of how we attract our talents. Okay, so we must focus on what the employee wants in terms of our HR processes, the policies, and the frameworks that we run today. So what's the focus? Our EVP, what's it saying? You know, that's our biggest strategy, okay? Our employee value proposition must be speaking to what the employee wants. We must be flexible as much as possible and nimble in our, let's take for instance, in the way we pay, in the work schedules. People are asking for different approaches today, and as HR leaders and as HR consultants across board, we must ensure that we are paying attention to what the employee wants, and we're also being as flexible in our processes and approaches to ensure that we're able to keep talent as much as we can. So our talent retention strategies must be enabled by a clear change process to ensure that we are able to keep today's talent. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot of them. We're actually exchanging talents today, and we aren't doing much in terms of retention.
Okay, so when do we qualify strategic change management as successful then? Are there specific measures to determine this? How do we know that a strategic change management is fully successful?
So in terms of success, we will need to think from the point of view of readiness. So how ready are we how ready are the people for change? How ready is the organization for change? It's important to have a clear change vision. It's important to have a clear change strategy, but how ready is the organization? How ready is the people? So we need to first conduct a readiness assessment, both from the organization and the people point of view, before we begin to jump into driving change. Like I said before, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. That it has worked in company A does not necessarily mean that it will be successful in company B. And then we also need to check the engagement level and the buy-in of the people and leadership. So the people and leadership must form a very good coalition. There must be a strong force between all of these to ensure that, and the level of coalition determines how successful we are going to be with change. We also need to ensure that the level of communication and understanding of what's happening in the process is huge, and this is where HR finds a huge advantage in terms of how often we communicate. I was speaking to a mentee of mine a couple of weeks back, and she was crying about the change process in her organization, and the biggest challenge is that there's so much corridor talk because people don't understand what is happening. So all of these are critical elements of a successful change management process.
All right.
Okay? Yeah.
Thank you. Now, you talked about the HR, and that brings me to a very important question. What is the role of HR professionals in strategic change management? What are they supposed to do? Are we supposed to hire new people for the change strategy, or the HR can actually handle it? What roles exactly does the HR play in all of this? Are they in charge of it?
Okay, so HR's role is pretty simple. I'll start by saying that if we go back to David Orick's book, HR from Outside In, one of the big things he had said is that HR must concern itself with the business of the business. So HR's role is to understand the business, lead and facilitate, understand the change because they understand the business, then lead and facilitate change. Okay, so there are changes that are HR initiated, that HR has to lead. There are changes that are business initiated or that happen on the business that HR would need to facilitate across the business. So HR plays the role of being a change champion or a change agent. In fact, this is a core skill and a core competence for HR people, because we must champion and drive change as much as possible. HR are change agents within the organizations where they are. So we need to prepare the organization, prepare the people, enable. In fact, the word is enable the change to happen within the organization. Yeah.
All right. And can this really happen without leadership or management in the company? Is this something that the HR can personally initiate and carry out, or it needs to go through the management or come from the management of the company?
So there are two ways. There's change initiatives that are management driven and led, and HR enables and facilitates those. There are change initiatives that are HR enabled and HR led, where HR has to lead and ensure that from end to end, HR is driving it and executing. But there are business changes that HR must understand, because HR must understand the business, understand the changes in the business, the impact of changes put on the business, on the people, and then on the outcomes that the business expects to see, or the strategy of the business as well. So HR plays a dual role of both championing and acting as agents of change.
All right, those are my questions today on this subject matter. And I believe change is constant. Clearly, it's something that we ought to continue to put in place in the company to make sure the goals and the objectives of the organization is fully achieved. So it's not something that ends. It's just a process that just continues and continues. And I believe the more companies or organizations put together strategies for change management, the better they become at it, the more familiar they are with the process. And
absolutely,
the easier the organization adapts to change, because the company continues to grow, changes are here and there, and the strategies put in place just gets more familiar. Very interesting. Thank you so much. But then again, you mentioned something earlier when I was introducing you. I think I saw it somewhere in your profile that beyond all of these many things that you do, you also, what is the word now? I'm just wondering if people can hire external strategic change managers. I don't know if that's possible, or has to be something that happens within the organization alone. Are there professionals or consultants who are just strategic change managers, that work alone and are hired in different companies to see that the goal is achieved? Is that a profession, a standalone profession?
All right, so largely, there are consultants who enable organizations drive to change. To a large extent, sometimes you don't have the resources within your organization in terms of manpower or within the HR function, depends, within the HR function or within the business to execute the level of change at the scale and the scope that is expected. So there are consultants, large consultants, so consulting outfits, and some other consulting outfits that are very attuned with the operations within that industry, who can support or enable the organization go through change. But largely, this has to be done in partnership and with the support of the team within the organization, because the consulting outfit needs to understand the nuances within the organization, understand the culture, understand the processes, and then be able to build on those in order to have a successful change project executed.
All right. Thank you so much. That's all the questions, and that's all the time that we have today on the office. Before we let you go, you have any last words to share before you go?
So in terms of final words for me, because I am talking particularly or more to HR leaders, for me, I'd say that change is inevitable, like we know, and but it can also be a great enabler, because if we get change right and we have great change management frameworks and tools and processes in place, and we have the right mindset within the organization, it's easier for us to manage or adapt to change when things happen. We either change or we perish. We can't stand still. It's either we're changing or or the organization. In fact, most organizations we see today, and we saw yesterday that we can see today, have gone on that because they couldn't manage change well enough. So is either we change or we prepare. And as HR people, we must understand our businesses well enough in order for us to be able to enable them or drive the adequate change processes that are required for success. So finally, as HR professionals and as HR leaders, change management is a core skill, or it will be part of our core competencies if we must be successful. So it's an area of improvement if we have gaps in those areas, and we must pay attention to.
Would you say the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management is very big on strategic change management? Is that one of the cultures that it tried to imbibe in all HR professionals that are registered in the institution?
Yes, CIPM as our institute has been at the forefront today of driving change. We can see how both within the private sector and the public sector, we see all the initiatives and all the efforts that CIPM is making. Also with individuals who are members of the institute, it has become mandatory and important that they go through some of these courses and programs to become a full member of the institute. So they equip and prepare members to drive and enable change and become change agents and champions within the organizations where they find themselves. Yeah.
Spoken like a true member yourself. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Stanley Eluwa. We do appreciate you for your time. Have a beautiful evening.
Many thanks for having me again, and thanks to the listeners for coming.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Many thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
If you don't mind, where are you from?
I'm from Abia State. Why do you ask?
Okay, because of your last name.
Eluwa. Yes, some people from Delta State have got names like this.
Yes, I'm from Delta State, so I thought you were from Delta.
Where in Delta?
I'm from Agbo.
I know. I was in Asaba for quite a while. I was born in Benin.
Oh,
worry too. So I'm a Bendel boy. Don't worry.
Oh, you stole our name, but you don't want to. You are still claiming Abia State.
Don't worry, I'm a Bendel boy now. Eh?
No problem.
Nice. What's the name again?
Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, don't worry. I'll stay in touch. Michelle who?
Michelle Ago.
Okay, I'll look for you.
Where would you find me?
Michelle Ago. Michelle Ago will be on Facebook, LinkedIn somewhere.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is perfect.
Michelle Ago. A-G-O-R.
A-G-O-H.
A-G-O-H. Okay, I find you immediately.
All right, no problem.
I'll drop you a message. Do take care.
Problem.
Thanks for having me. Amazing session, really.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.